Well, thank you for being here. Thank you. It's great to see you. It's great to be here. And really appreciate your time and, for making the effort to be here tonight. So that's great. This is a workshop or seminar event about women in transition. And so the first thing we have to get taken care of right up front, the elephant in the room, is why is a male Homo sapien talking to a group of women about transition? And it all started with a story and an event that I had that I'll share with you. And it's kind of an interesting thing that happened to me. I was going through my email a few years ago, and in this email I saw a fire walk. I've always wanted to walk the fire walk. You know, you have the fire walk, they're about 15 to 2,000 degrees, they're hot. And I thought that'd be a lot of fun. So there was a Tony Robbins seminar, it was in San Jose, and so I signed up for it. And I remember driving to San Jose to the event saying, oh, this is going to be great. I'm sure that we're probably going to walk the coals on the last day of the event. Well, come to find out, when I was registering, just as I was leaving to go into the hall, I said, by the way, when are we going to do the fire walk? And she says, we're going to do it tonight. And I'm going, how? It's an intimate atmosphere. There were only 4,000 people there, the entire convention. And I thought to myself, how is he going to get us ready to be able to walk the coals in one day? And so I was a little bit concerned about that. And then I went in and we started going through the process. So it was about 12 o'clock. And about 6 o'clock, he said, okay, now we're going to start getting you ready for walking on the fire walk, the coals. And he said the number one priority is that you must have a purpose, something that's on the other side of the coals that you are willing to walk the coals for. And I thought, oh, no problem. It's my wife, my children, maybe it's a private jet. I don't know. I'm sure something will come into my mind for that. Never had a problem with that before. Well, so everybody went quiet, took a cleansing breath, closed my eyes, and when Tony said, okay, wake up, it's over, come back, I had nothing. There was not one thing that came into my mind. I've never had a situation where my mind was completely blank. And so then I thought, well, that's really weird. And then Tony said, don't worry about it. We'll do it a couple more times to make sure you'll be covered. And so then we did it. Then at about 9:30 at night, you kind of lose track of time when you're in the way he does it. And there are these big plasma TVs on the stage. And what he said was, he says, puts in his ear like this, and he says, okay, we're going to go to the fire pits or the fire walks where they're preparing all the coals and the embers and things like that. And so he switched over, and on these plasma screens came these huge screens of fire. I mean, it was just fire that was flaming up. It was wood that was burning. And I'm going, oh my gosh. Now, I didn't say that. I said something different. And I said, this, all of a sudden, this was no fun. I was going, wait a minute. Now, what I thought was going to be a good time is now a defining moment. Am I going to run or am I going to do something with this? And so then he did it again. He said, okay, go in to find your purpose. I went deeper this time, a little more serious. I mean, those flames were there. That was really, really sobering to me. And sure enough, nothing came. So then at about 12 o'clock, he said, okay, the third time. Now, what had happened between the time that I did it the second time and the third time is I made two things happen. Number one, I made a commitment. I made a commitment that I was going to walk the coals regardless of whether I had a vision or not, a purpose. I was there to do that. Exactly, that's what I was going to do. And there's a quote by W.H. Murray that says that until you're committed, there's always hesitancy, drawing back, things of that nature. But when you're committed, providence moves to, all sorts of things occur that would have come that way. And the second thing that I did was, I tend to be a very controlling individual. Not in my marriage, though, just so you know that. And so I'm getting over that and getting better than that, but I decided the second thing I would do is I would give up control. I decided at that time that I would relinquish control, to the universe, to God, whatever it works for you. I basically said, this is not fun anymore. This is becoming much bigger than me. I'm going to just turn it over and relinquish. And so when I took a deep breath, I closed my eyes, and in my mind immediately came a vision. And it was a vision of me speaking to a group of women at the North Ranch Country Club. It was crazy when I thought, what's going on here? There's no jet, there's no kids, there's none of this. There's a woman that I was teaching, and I had two questions on that. The first question was, why? What do I have to impart to women? How can I help them? And I started reflecting on this and tried to figure this out, and I reflected on my own business practices where women come to me that are newly divorced. It's the first time that they bought a home on their own. Usually their husband did most of the stuff, but they have come to me and my team, and we walk them through every single step of the way. We empower them. We make sure that we don't make the decisions for them. They ask us a lot of times, will you decide? I say, no. Here's what the options are. Here's the education. Now, what do you feel most comfortable with? And so we really work on empowering. Then I had women come that were in my office, and they were in great anxiety and frankly in tears. Their husband had just left them for a woman that was 25 years younger. And that's happened on several occasions where they got to move their kids. They went from a 35 square foot home to a 15 square foot, 100 square foot apartment. They had to change schools. I mean, it's really, really tough. And then women, my clients would call me where the spouse or life partner would die. It was either traumatic or sudden. And they would say, what do I do? How do I take care of my mortgage? What do I do? And can you help me? And so I thought about that. And I thought, well, maybe there's something I can do there. And then I thought about my own life. I thought about when I came home from playing with my friends. In our living room was my dad's suitcases and my mother explaining to me that they were getting divorced. And then about 3 or 4 months later, if you can imagine the most ugly yellow station wagon you've ever seen, with a U-Haul trailer on the back in the driveway of a 2-story lovely home 2 blocks away from the beach in Santa Cruz, California. We were driving out to San Luis Obispo so that my mother could get her college degree. She re-upped and was accepted, and she was going to go for it. And between the ages of 8 and 14, we moved 5 times, and it was mostly because we couldn't either pay the rent or we were asked to leave by the landlord. That's where I really got this thing about renting, that I just despise it. And the 5th and final move was into the projects. And yes, it's true, they have projects in San Luis Obispo, just so you know. Everybody asked me that. Government housing. And it was, at least I knew that we'd have a place to stay. It was difficult for me. It was like 7 months before I ever had any of my friends come over. And then if you go back about a couple years before that, our pastor and a brain surgeon came over to our home. And my mother had been falling, and they didn't know what was wrong. And they basically sat us down, me and my 3 older brothers and sisters, and said, your mother is diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. It's a degenerative disease. The myelin sheath on her spinal cord is degenerating, and she will lose motor function. She may not be able to walk in the near future. That was it. And so at the age of 12, I became a quasi-caregiver. And then going through, and even though I can't, and it's really important that we understand that I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I got to make that really clear. Because there's a lot of people that fake that they do, but if you're not a woman, you don't know. But what I can do is I can relate and give you a little bit of a sliver of understanding of what I can appreciate and understand that women go through. When I saw my mother go through her struggles of trying to develop new relationships, new dating, deal with the not truancy, but she had to raise 4 kids that were simply wild and out of control, and so I went through that. I saw my sisters and all the things that they had gone through, and how difficult it was. How sometimes nights my mother would fall, and just searing cry would come. And it was really hard. We were on welfare and food stamps. And then when I was 18 years old, I was at her bedside as I watched her transition and pass away. And so at that time, so I was reflecting on this, that what happened, then the second question came to me and said, are you willing to walk the coals for these women? And the answer was a resounding 100%, 110% yes. And so that's why you're here tonight. It's that vision, that commitment, and with the help of Gina, well, I can't do it without her, that is why we're here tonight. And to support you and do everything we can. And it's very interesting to know that right now women are the second largest group of people that are buying homes, more than men. If I were to ask you, are there more men living with their parents or women, what would you say? More men, right? Automatic. Let me ask you this. What percentage do you think women who find out that they're dating a person that's living with their parents drop them? 95%. 95%. Now, by the way, I'm not throwing my male colleagues under the bus here tonight. I just want to make it clear that women are bad. All right? You've really got a lot going for you. And real quickly, the research that we've done, and I'll go through this real quick so we have lots of time for our panel here. So there's strategies with life changes. And it has to do a lot with housing, because housing is kind of the center point of where you live and how you interact in the environment that you spend most of your time in. So one is solo relationship. There's a feeling out there with women, research proves this out, that they tend to not want to buy a home until they get married or until they have a commitment or something of that nature. And I'm here to tell you tonight that that's not what's happening. There are more ways to qualify for financing for a home than you can believe. There's so much opportunity, it's crazy. The other strategy is you have a great relationship. What do you do to empower your relationship? One thing that we've found is that if you have an agreement together to pay off your home, it does amazing things between the two of you. So there's, not always, some feel comfortable with it, some don't. But there are some amazing things that you can do as a strategy that relate specifically to home ownership. The third one is issues with the relationship. You feel that there's something going on, but you're not quite sure. You can't quite put your finger on what it is. And so, you're busy with the kids, there's a lot going on in life, and that's where we really encourage you to take a step back, because that's the time to say, wait a minute, something may not be right. And in doing that, we really encourage, counseling but you never tell a man that you want to go to counseling and that you want him to go to counseling. You say, honey, I'd like us to have some coaching. So you use the word coaching. They're much more inviting to that. And you may find that when you take stock of this, you may find that the relationship may not be able to recover. And as a result of that, you need to begin putting together strategies that will protect you and your children so that you have shelter, you have a place to live. The next one is demise of the relationship. We have people coming in that say, my husband left me, what do I do now? There's strategies that are specifically outlined for that. And then, of course, unexpected loss of spouse or partner. That's a really serious one, and that's where we can help as well as that. So there's a lot of strategies, a lot of things that you can employ that will make it so that you can have the life that you want in the home that you want. And we really believe that it has so much to do, your home environment has so much to do with the quality of your life. So that's it for me. Thank you very much. We'll turn it over. Do we have any questions before we go on? Okay, we'll have questions at the end too, so you're welcome to think about it. All right, thank you.